Welcome to Joy, Love, and Abundance, designed to lift up and explore the people, organizations, and experiences that create a more joyful, loving, and abundant world. Join hosts Rodney-Eric-Lopez, Patrice-Tanaka, and Cyrus-Webb as they share stories and insights that will inform and inspire you. Enjoy today's broadcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Joy, Love, and Abundance, Episode 6. It's hard to believe, Patrice and Rodney, we are already at our 6th episode, already over a month of being able to share these great messages. So glad to be back with you guys.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This time has just been flying by. It's been wonderful.
Well, look, I definitely have enjoyed it for sure, and definitely hope our audience has had a great week. Guys, over this past week, I had a pretty cool thing that happened for me professionally, which I tell people most of my life is business and work anyway, but it was a great personal and professional goal where I had interviewed my 10,000th guest of my radio career of hosting Conversations Live, the radio show, and was attempting to break the Guinness World Record for most radio interviews in 24 hours. And the great thing is I hit my 10,000th goal, but I did not hit the Guinness World Record of most radio interviews. But it got me to thinking about something, and I shared it with you guys, and I'm curious about your thoughts. I was excited about the 10,000. My manager was like, "Oh, Cyrus, I'm so sorry. There'll be another time. And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I interviewed my 10,000." I was focused on that part of it, and I think it made me think, guys, about how in life in general, right? A lot of times when we set goals, we don't always take the time to celebrate what we do. So I'm curious as to you guys' thoughts on this. I mean, do you take out time, even if you may have set a big goal for yourself, do you take out the time to be able to celebrate the maybe not so big goals?
That's a great question, and I think that what you're talking about here, Cyrus, you're putting your finger on something that I think is really important, which is that it's great to have big goals in life, and we should all strive to reach for things that are big, but not at the expense of smelling the rose every once in a while along the way. And so I think that's something I can do more of in my life. I think I am so focused more often than not on what am I accomplishing this year or in the next 5 years. But being a good dad is just as important as anything I'll accomplish professionally. I have 2 boys. I have 2 sons who are in high school, and my older son is a high school senior who's applying to college, and he's 5 for 5 now so far on college acceptances. He's applied to 13 schools, and just yesterday we found out that that's wrong. He's 6 for 6. He just got accepted to his 6th school last night, and I'm like, this is huge. Now this is his win, not so much my win, because he put in the work and he's been a great student and he's done the hard work. But I also get to enjoy the fact that I've been a parent to him all this time and been a dad and been a great dad to him, and these are the moments that as a parent you really look forward to, seeing your children reach a milestone, and this is another milestone. And so for me, it's an everyday win, but it's a win that for me is very meaningful. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, and what a great thing. Yeah. Congratulations to you and to your son, Rod. And again, that is such a big deal. Patrice, what about you? You have achieved so much, but has it been easy for you to even celebrate, the almost events that you've had?
I think I'm getting a lot better at just celebrating what happened that was great today. And I love that, because sometimes I'll look back at my day and think, I am so glad that I was able to support my sister, my grown sister, who's, just 8 years younger than me, who unfortunately had to have her tonsils out. And, as an adult, having your tonsils out, apparently it's a very painful 10-day recovery. So I've actually been kind of supporting her through this, not so pleasant time. And I also got a friend of mine who's a Reiki master to send her Reiki treatments long distance. And so she said it's really been helping her. And to me, that's like, I feel so successful because I'm helping my sister, and she was terrified about the surgery. And, you know, she actually said that she experienced a turning point because she had anxiety prior to the surgery, but that this Reiki treatment, which started before her surgery, really helped her to kind of be less stressed about it. And I consider that a major, you know, accomplishment. So I guess I'm kind of trying to appreciate every day what happens. But I did want to get back to you, Cyrus, because I'm really captivated by the fact that you are still standing today, because yesterday you were going for the Guinness World Record and trying to, you know, interview like 500 people within a 24-hour period. And, you know, for different reasons you fell short of that. But, you know, as you shared with us, you're not daunted. You are going to be going for that title again, right? When did you say you were going to do this?
That is so true. That is so true, and I can actually formally announce that now exclusively on our program here at Joy, Love, and Abundance. I will be in July celebrating my 18th year of hosting Conversations Live, and that month I will once again be going for the Guinness World Record of most radio interviews. And I should say, and since we're talking about this, I should say the current record, and the person who said it is to be commended. Her name is Pavlina Osta. She was a teenager when she set this record. She's a celebrity journalist in Florida. She has since now been working in Hollywood. She's done amazing things. So she set the record back in 2014. So it has not been broken now in almost 7 years. And it was 347 interviews is what she did. So that's what had to be broken, was the actual 347. 500 was the personal goal I had set for myself, but 347 was the actual goal to beat. And, you know, I think, you know, for myself, you talk about still standing, you know, for me, the adrenaline of the day, because I limit myself to 2 cups of coffee a day because I'm addicted to coffee. So I'm animated enough, and if I get more than 2 cups, everyone needs to watch out. But I did all of that with 2 cups of coffee and chicken salad and crackers and water.
Oh my God!
No, wow. So that fueled.
Yeah, that was it from 6:30 a.m. Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry, but finish your point. You started at 6:30 a.m.
I started at 6:30 a.m. You know, Central Time in Mississippi, and we went to 10 p.m. Is what we actually went to. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, but yeah, it was really exciting.
Wow. Well, what I wanted to ask you, Cyrus, was first of all, I mean, happy to hear that you're going to go for it again in July. But I want to again congratulate you on the 10,000th guest, because in your mind, I mean, while the record would have been nice, clearly the 10,000th guest is a real milestone. And so the question I have for you about that is, how did you know you were approaching 10,000? Have you just been counting the whole way all along, or did you reach some point where you said, wait a minute, how many people have I interviewed? And then you just started tallying and realized, oh my goodness, I'm getting close to 10,000. How did you figure that out?
That is a great question, Rodney, and it goes again to my quirkiness, which people are realizing more and more as I do this show. Okay, so most people in broadcasting, what I have found, the guys who do radio and television like I do, like Larry King, right? Larry King, they say that he did over 50,000 interviews. Well, you know, of course, some of those were repeated guests, and the way Larry King would count is if let's say, Rodney, you appeared on his show 10 times during 1 year, you were counted as 10 guests. The way I count, because I'm so weird, if you appear in my program, you can appear as many times as you want, but I only count you as a guest once per year. So I average about 1,000 guests a year, individuals. So what I do is I have a trusty notebook, Rodney, and all of my guests from the past 17 years are listed in notebooks. And I have 3 columns. One is what guest you are for that month. One is the guest you are for that year, and one is the guest you are in my career.
Wow.
And that's how I've kept up with it for 17 years.
Wow.
Oh, my
All
God.
right. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, I hope you never
kudos.
lose those hard copy notebooks.
I know, right? Look, don't think my management don't talk to me. Oh, Cyrus, you could use this. I'm like, no. The lights could go out. Something could get fried. I have these hard copies. I know exactly what the number is, But now I want to give a shout out to Melissa Banks, guys, because Melissa Banks was the event planner that I booked to help me keep up with the count. Because of course, with me being on the air, I didn't know what guest was what number was. She was the one that was on with me during the day, keeping up with the tally. So definitely she is to be recognized for that. And I want to say, guys, before we go any further, I want to encourage our audience out there, do you take out the time to celebrate the not-so-big wins? A lot of times we just put out there about the big stuff, but do you take out the time that literally celebrate yourself for the things that most people may take for granted? And, Rodney, I love the fact that you mentioned about your son and being a father, because that's something someone like myself, I don't have any children, that I look at people like you and think, wow, because I know how hard being a parent these days is. And I think you are to be commended every day, for what you're able to do. And I hope our audience realizes that too.
Yeah, I think if you are privileged to be a parent, and there's lots of ways to be a parent, obviously. There isn't one way to be a parent. But whoever is taking care of young people, either as a parent or a guardian or an adoptive parent, a foster parent, it's hard work. But what you realize is, in the most personal way possible, you are pouring into the life of a young person, and so it can be challenging, it can be frustrating, it can be all those things. But at the end of the day, when there's love, it is really one of the most rewarding things you can experience. And so I'm just happy to be a dad.
Yeah. I want to say, for those who are just tuning in, either on the radio side or through our podcast, you're listening to Joy, Love, and Abundance. I'm cyrus-webb, joined, you just heard there from Rodney-Eric-Lopez. Also, we have Patrice-Tanaka. We're talking about celebrating you and celebrating your wins along the way in your life, whether we're talking about a professional goal, a personal goal, something with your family, or just being able to make the most of every day. I hope you are taking out that time, and we would love to know actually how you're doing that. So please make sure you guys share with us in the comments. And to that point, guys, I want to turn to another individual. I love being able to spotlight others. And I was sharing with you guys, I had an opportunity to be a celebrity guest judge for a wonderful organization called Celebrate You. It's an online organization of women empowering other women entrepreneurs. And they had a virtual gala that I had a chance to be a part of, the Woman of the Year Gala. And they've grown this organization now to over 800. And the winner was an individual named Wendy Watkins. And she shared during her acceptance speech that 20 years ago on her vision board, she showed us the page of being Woman of the Year. And she said, what, the important thing is to trust the process. So I wanted to shout out Wendy and say congratulations to you. Thank you for not giving up on your goals. And just like myself, not reaching a big thing now does not mean I won't be able to reach it later, and just celebrate the journey. I think that is so important for us.
That's a great story.
So great.
Congratulations. Yeah.
And I love
Rodney,
that she had a vision board and did that. That's great.
I've never done, I don't know about you guys, I've never done a vision board. I've heard heard people, I set goals for myself, and but I've never done the actual visualization with a board, a physical thing. But, it's one of those things that she did, and she was able to hold on to that. I think that's such a big thing. Rodney, you had such a great story as well. What was the story that captivated you this week?
Oh, my goodness. It's a story that just really touched my heart. It kind of, in some ways, it's related to the story in our last podcast that I talked about with Food for Soul, but this is in a different space. I read this in a magazine, and an online magazine, and it was about this church in Philadelphia, and they took on a really big project. It's a church in Philadelphia called the Circle of Hope, and what they did was they several years ago they started this project called credit card debt annihilation, which is like a really heavy, intense project to name something, but it underscored for me the seriousness with which they were going to deal with this problem. What they wanted to do was eliminate credit card debt in their congregation, because so many people are suffering silently with credit card debt and other kinds of debt. But credit card debt is particularly difficult because so many credit cards have just high interest rates. And when people have to use credit cards to pay for basic things, to pay for food or gas or rent, then the interest on these purchases can get really cumbersome. And so they realized that the credit card debt was a problem in their community, and they wanted a community solution for it. So they basically gathered everyone, and they invited everyone who had credit card debt and income to participate in this, and they broke everybody up into 3 cohorts. And essentially the stipulations were that the commitments were that you were going to be completely transparent with your cohort about your financial situation, that you were going to invest some seed money to go towards paying the common debt, and that you were going to stick with the process. And using the snowball debt method, this is what they did. They paid the credit card debts in the cohort that had the highest interest rates, and then when those were paid off, they took the money and then applied it towards the next credit card debt, and then the next one, which meant that every single time a card was paid off, the amount of money available to put towards the next card was even greater. And so over the course of the program, they've eliminated over $100,000 in credit card debt and nearly that amount in interest. And so That was a story that fascinated me, because it showed me that, when a community wants to get together and tackle something together and share vulnerability and transparency, but also shared commitment around something that can be very personal and tricky and difficult as money and debt, that powerful things can happen. And so this was a true example of abundance in a community for me. So it was an amazing story.
I love that, Rodney. And what I also love is, I think I can only imagine, because I've never been a part of a community, I'll just use that word, event like that. I can only imagine the celebrations from one person to the next of knowing you don't have that burden anymore. You know what I mean? Yeah. And to know that you were able to help somebody to get rid of that. Because I have, we all take so much for granted, and I, myself included, and there's a lot of things I don't fully understand or have experienced. But one thing I've seen from my family members is how the physical effects of debt and what it does to some of the stress and the uncertainty and all of that. And I think what a burden to live under. So to have that burden take off, I think that has to be such a great thing, such a great story. Patrice, what about for yourself? What stood out to you this week?
So many things happened this week, but Rodney inspired me to remember something I wanted to actually talk about on the show. A dear friend of mine, who is half black and half Indian, so he's, black and Asian, was so inspired when Kamala Harris was nominated to be vice president and of course became our vice president, the first black and Asian person to take office, that it inspired him to start something that he had thought about as a grad student at Stanford. And he's a serial entrepreneur, technology, finance, fintech, that kind of thing. So he decided to start a company called Paybby, PAYBBY.com. Paybby. And what it is, it's an online bank, a challenger bank or a neobank, some people call it, specifically to help Black and brown communities who are both underbanked and undercharged. And so Paybby is helping Black and brown people to open a bank account and also to apply for PPP loans via their site. And they just started this thing 6-8 months ago, but I'm on this site right now, and it says they've processed 647 PPP loans totaling almost $30 million within just the last 24 days, right?
Wow.
And even though anyone can, go on this site and be a client, they're specifically targeting this for Black and brown communities because, as I said, they're underbanked and overcharged. And I think this is just so great. Someone who, has been very successful, doing all kinds of tech startups. But this is his passion project, and he's making a difference in the lives of so many people. And I just, his name is Hassan Mia, and he just inspires me. And anyway, so Rodney's story reminded me of, one of the bright shining lights this week for me.
Yeah.
Patrice, that's such a great story. As I was listening to you just now recount that, that just brought me back to a period in my life when I was just struggling with debt. I was swimming in it, and I went for a period of time as an unbanked person because my wages and my assets were seized by the tax authorities, and I had no bank account for a while. As an adult, it's frankly embarrassing. It was for me, I should say. I don't want to speak for anybody else, but it was for me, and it was inconvenient and it was expensive because then you have to start using things like check cashing places and things like that, which charge exorbitant rates for basic transactions, and so that there are more and more companies like this who are looking to serve communities and make it easier for them to get access to banking services. I think is wonderful.
And Rodney, I love that your own personal experience being one of those underbanked people actually has caused you to start your own consultancy focused on helping people who were in the position you were once in, right? What is the name of your?
Yeah, it's the Generosity and Abundance Process, which is the name of of my product. But it just stems from having a lived experience with financial lack and difficulty with facing your personal finance issues. And some of it is societal, some of it is personal, some of it is a little bit of everything, but we all bring challenges to that. And so when more people can feel comfortable telling their money story, then change is possible. So thank you for bringing that up.
What is the website, Wendy? Rodney? What's the website?
It's my website. It's my website, rodney-eric-lopez.com. That's how you can find out more about it.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
Great. Yeah.
I'm so glad that you're doing that, Rodney. And again, I think that's the thing. And again, I think it goes to Patrice why you felt like a show like this was important, because as we have been able to find joy, love, and abundance in our lives, it's great we can find ways that we can share that and pay it forward to others. And Rodney, I think what you're doing there really, is a tangible example of that, literally, of being able to do just that, realizing, okay, I know, and that's why I share my story of being a suicide attempt survivor, because I know what that can do for someone else who's been there. And I think that is the thing, I think, for us to be able to find, and I think, too, it goes to something else you mentioned earlier, Rodney, I think that was so powerful about your story, about the debt. letting go of the shame. I think we have to get away from this place of thinking, that people are less than because of circumstances. And I think I think it's a broad thing that's out there, but I mean, people, we should be able to have empathy for each other, want to encourage one another, and not feel as though someone's going to look at us a certain way because of, this or that. I think, if we come from that place of, as Patrice would say, joy, love, I think we could all be able to enjoy that abundance. I think it's so important.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad that this is a vehicle, that this show can be a small contribution in a conversation that allows people that encourages people to let go of some of those more shameful feelings and know that it's possible to overcome that.
Yeah. So I want to once again encourage
for sharing, for being so generous and sharing your stories to make it, easier for other people to address, the issues that haunt us. So thank you, Rodney and Cyrus.
And Patrice, I want to thank you for always bringing, such great organizations. That, the ones that you've been bringing, I've never heard of them. So I'm sure a lot of our audience haven't either. And I love that, again, we have this platform to do that. So I do want to encourage our audience, please, let us know how you're going to continue to pay it forward. Let us know how you're going to be able to celebrate yourself. Rodney, Patrice, and myself, I know, appreciate you all so much for listening, both on the radio side and online. Rodney and Patrice, I always enjoy these conversations with you all, and I'm looking forward to next week's program.
Yeah.
Likewise.
So am I.
Absolutely.
And we are, once again, thanking you, our audience, for being with us for another great episode of Joy, Love, and Abundance. May you find that joy, love, and abundance for yourself, and we will see you back here again next week. Take care.